Which is across most of the back pages, it has to be said, for Saturday, that Marcus Rashford headlines a group of 5 Manchester United players who have been banished by Ruben Amorim, the head coach, ahead of the new season. He and Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony and Terrell Malacia as well. Ian Ladyman, no great surprise that any of those 5 don't have a significant future at the club. And I guess financially as well, there is a reason for Ruben Amorim to want rid of them, to try and regenerate the squad and continue building his own team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fascinating story, this, and the reason that I see it as being so is that this feels like a real line in the sand moment for Ruben Amorim, the Manchester United coach, a real stick or twist moment, and he's decided to twist. And what I mean by that is that when you've got players who you don't want and they don't want to be around, it's quite easy to hedge your bets and say, well, I'll keep them in the first team pool and I'll use them off the bench occasionally, and I might use them in the League Cup or whatever. That way it stops the negative headlines. It prevents that feeling of tension and unrest. And it also gives you a bit of a bigger squad, and it keeps players potentially in the shop window. They might come off the bench and score a goal for you. Amorim has obviously thought, no, that's not the way that I'm going to do this. I think this is a coach who knows that what happens in the first few months of the season will essentially, it'll give him another lease of life, or at United, or will bury him. Because we can't forget the way that last season went. You can't forget where they finished in the league. You can't forget what happened in the Europa League final. If United start badly this season, then that guy is under pressure and probably goes. And so he's obviously thought, if I'm going, then I'm not going to go wondering. I'm going to go on my terms. I'm going to go my way. I'm going to manage my way. These guys don't want to play for me. They tell me they don't want to play for me. They don't behave as though they want to play for me. So they're not playing for me, and they're not playing for me. No matter how badly I might need them on occasion, no matter how badly I might need a deep squad and a deep bench, they are not playing for me. This is my football club, and I will do it my way. It's brave. I admire him for it, but it also carries an element of risk.
To you, Mark, what would be, do you think, the biggest motivating factor for Amorim to want rid of them? Is it that the players don't fit the system? Is it, as Ian just alluded to, that maybe the attitude is not great for some of them? Or is it that some of them are on a lot of wages and they're costing club a lot of money to do not very much?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of all 3 things you mentioned there, because all players are different. But I do think that ultimately he doesn't want the distraction of being asked by people like us what's happening with Marcus Rashford. Is he going to go on the summer tour to the United States? Is Jadon Sancho going to go on the tour? Is he training with the first team? All these questions which kind of hung over Erik ten Hag last year with Sancho, that he's dealt with that. And I think it is good, strong management. I think United have backed him, but there is a downside to this, in the sense that there's 5 players there that United today have just basically cut their value, because everybody that might want to sign these players will know that they are damaged goods, and that United's valuation at 9 o'clock this morning is not the same as at 9 o'clock tonight, because they can't say we want X amount of pounds for Marcus Rashford when they're telling the whole world that he's not part of the plans. So they have a problem there, unless they know where these players are going. But I think it also makes it sure as well that in January, I think Marcus Rashford had a couple of options. AC Milan were interested, didn't fancy that. And he basically waited till the end of the window and signed for Aston Villa when it was clear that Barcelona didn't want him. Will Marcus Rashford be prepared to wait as long again when he knows that he's not going to kick a ball again for Man United? It might force the issue, but still I do think that United need to back this up now by getting rid of these players quickly. Otherwise, they'll have a problem in August, late August, when they're still in the books, they're still paying the wages and they can't get rid of them. So they need to move them on fast to prevent it becoming a distraction, which they've done this to avoid it becoming a distraction.
That concept, or that challenge of moving them on fast, again ties in with the finances, doesn't it? That if your option is to go somewhere else, but if you're Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford in particular, you might have to take a pay cut. You wonder whether you sit there for as long as possible on your 350 grand a week, or you say to Man United, well, if you want me to go, you can pay the rest of my contract, the differential between whatever my new club's going to offer me and what you're giving me now.
Yeah, without a doubt, somebody's going to have to take a backward step in these negotiations, and the chances are that it'll have to be Manchester United. That's usually the way that it works. I'll just take issue slightly with something that Mark just said there about cutting value, and I absolutely know what he means. United are essentially telling the world that these players or wrong-uns, for want of a better phrase. That's the way they obviously see them. But I don't think they will sell him. I'm not sure they can sell him. I think these will, well, the majority of these will have to be loans again, because there aren't that many clubs out there who can go for a transfer fee for a player like Marcus Rashford, who earns the type of money that he earns, and go for the whole package. He's just not that valuable. So, so the chances are that some of these departures will once again be loans, and the whole merry-go-round will start again. United are going to find it desperately difficult to sell these players on the basis of the way they've played in the last couple of years, and just from a pure standpoint of pounds and pence, it does not add up.
Do you think, Mark, there was ever a temptation, particularly with Rashford, who was good on that loan spell with Aston Villa? Sancho was fine with Chelsea too, to give them a second chance? Or do you think that by the time that particularly Rashford left at the end of January, start of February, that his mind was made up on him, that he was never going to play for Manchester United again?
Yeah, there was no way back for those two. I mean, Sancho had a poor season at Chelsea, and he's never done anything at Man United to warrant being given a third, fourth or fifth chance. And Marcus Rashford did do that well at Aston Villa. He scored 2 Premier League goals and a couple in the FA Cup against Preston. So, for a player that earns 325 grand a week, you'd expect more than 4 goals in 6 months. So I don't think Rashford did anything at Aston Villa to convince Ruben Amorim that he was wrong. So I think their future was sealed the moment they left Old Trafford, and there's no way back. And I think it's the same for the other 3 players. I think that the time's up. None of them are good enough for Man United in their current form. So move them on.
Part of the story in the Times, Ian, is that number 10 shirt has gone for Marcus Rashford. It's been handed to Matheus Cunha.
Matheus Cunha takes the number 10 as new Manchester United player. The number 10 was the shirt number of Marcus Rashford. So Rashford is losing the number 10. He was informed 24 hours before about that, his agents, of course. But let me say, that is not just Marcus Rashford's desire to leave Manchester United. All of this also starts from Manchester United's desire to part ways from Marcus Rashford since January and continuing this summer. So it's not only Rashford who wants to leave United, but there is also United who are pushing the opportunity to sell Marcus Rashford or to find a solution for him this summer. When I say Man United, is the management, is the coach Ruben Amorim. So all parties are going to the same direction for Marcus Rashford to leave. The update of the day about that is that Rashford will not show up for training immediately, but Man United will give him some time to find a solution on the market, and so let's see what happens there. But for sure, the Rashford situation is open again on the market, with the player not being part of Manchester United project, and that's very clear. Similar situation to Alejandro Garnacho. I told you 2 weeks ago, it's over between Garnacho and Man United. Garnacho will go, Garnacho will leave, Garnacho wants to go, and Man United want him to go. So they decided to part ways. I can confirm my information on Alejandro Garnacho. So what I said is now confirmed. Garnacho will not show up for training immediately. Garnacho can stay away from Carrington for the upcoming weeks to find a solution on the market. Let me mention once again, as I already told you, that the priority of Alejandro Garnacho is to stay in Premier League. He would love to continue in Premier League, so let's see what happens there, because Alejandro Garnacho would be very happy to stay in England. There was some interest from Bayer Leverkusen, some interest from Italian clubs too, but Garnacho is basically waiting and giving priority to English clubs. For sure, it's over between him and Man United. So Rashford, so Alejandro Garnacho, Antony also out of the trainings for Manchester United because they want to part ways, Antony and Man United. Betis want to keep Antony, but the salary remains the issue, so let's see how they can find a solution. Jadon Sancho also not part of training sessions at Manchester United. It's over also for him. We know there were links with Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce are not in active talks for Jadon Sancho. From what I'm hearing, there is interest from Juventus, who keep calling Manchester United, but the salary of Jadon Sancho, a huge salary, is still the stumbling block for this negotiation between Juve and Man United for Jadon Sancho. So we will follow also that story for sure. And then, guys, it's important to say that also Tyrell Malacia is out of the project. He will not show up for training. It's over with Man United, and so they will look for a solution also for Malacia, who returned from loan deal from PSV Eindhoven. Also, many questions, guys, on the Victor Osimhen future. At the moment, still no breakthrough in this story, and nothing will happen in the upcoming hours, so it will take some days before we understand the future of Victor Osimhen. At the moment, guys, I keep receiving many questions from Manchester United fans, but at the moment I'm not aware of concrete negotiations between Man United and Napoli for Victor Osimhen. Remember that the player has already disclosed 75 million euros, but at the moment Al Hilal from Saudi and Galatasaray, where the player was on loan last season, keep working on a deal to get
we've been
Victor
talking.
Osimhen.
Marcus Rashford expected to leave Manchester United. Keeping that in mind, a new possibility could now present itself in the form of Marcus Rashford and his ongoing issues with Manchester United. According to Fabrizio Romano, the latest development in the whole saga concerning the English winger and the Premier League club suggests that everything is over between the two. For context, Romano has reported that United is set to give Rashford's number 10 to new signing Matheus Cunha. As such, it is essentially understood by all parties that he will not be continuing with them beyond the end of this summer transfer window. That is where Barcelona comes in, because the Catalan club is the ideal destination for the 27-year-old English forward. He reportedly dreams of the move, and it is an operation that he is giving priority to as well. As for La Blaugrana themselves, the latest update in their search for a new left winger suggests that they want to focus on Liverpool's Luis Diaz.